Pistorius has been found sentenced relating to culpable homicide as 5 years, and we also have 3 years suspended for 5 years for the gun-related charge. Of course, you would remember that relates to the Tasha's incident in which Oscar Pistorius was found to have contravened a section of the Firearms Control Act. Certainly a lot of activity outside the court here, not much reaction at this stage. We watched Oscar Pistorius as Judge Masipa asked him to stand, and emotionless, Oscar Pistorius had to hear his fate here today. But just to get a breakdown of exactly what all this means, I'm joined now by Laurie James, who is the resident legal eagle here on SABC News. Laurie, thanks for your time. Once again, what does this all mean? 5 years for culpable homicide, 3 years suspended for 5 on the gun-related charge.
Absolutely. Judge Masipa has handed down an incarcerative sentence. The accused will serve prison time. On the gun-related charge, what she said is she's imposed also an incarcerative sentence of 3 years, but she has suspended that for 5 years on the condition that he is not involved in a similar incident within that 5 years. So that's effectively what we're seeing.
All right, what happens now? What's happening now?
Well, at this point, the defense may appeal, in which case they would indicate that they are appealing and ask for Mr. Pistorius's bail conditions to be extended pending the filing. Alternatively, he will be arrested and he will be taken from here to the correctional facility.
Yeah. Now, Judge Masipa was quite scathing in her remarks about the testimony of Annette Vergeer relating to the way that jails, would be able to or not be able to, in her case, house people with disabilities such as Oscar Pistorius, but did accept that of Zach Modise, the acting National Commissioner of Correctional Services. That's certainly not surprising, given that perhaps that Zach Modise had indicated significant strides had been made in correctional facilities. It's not perfect, but certainly strides have been made.
Absolutely, and what we did see in the difference between Vergeer's testimony and Modise's testimony, which Judge Masipa was at lengths to bring to light, was that Vergeer's testimony was not balanced, and Modise's was extremely balanced. He accepted that the correctional services system is flawed, but he also indicated that great strides have been made and they are working to improve conditions, and I think that was that is the swaying argument, and I've said this all along. If you testify in court, you have to be objective and you have to be balanced.
She was also scathing in referring to another case and saying that in this matter relating to Oscar Pistorius, for example, not one shot was fired, 4 shots were fired, and also saying that Oscar Pistorius also understood what, or rather knew, we saw through the competency test, for example, that he took, that was spoken about quite at length here at this trial, that Oscar Pistorius knew how to handle a firearm. He knew not to just charge without knowing who was behind the door.
Well, that would take you back to Renz's testimony, where they actually brought the person that trained him onto the stand, and he explained exactly what the training was. He read out Oscar Pistorius's answers to the questionnaire papers that were the examinations. So yes, that would be important because he understood the gun laws and he acted in contravention of them in the situation. So that is extremely aggravating. If it's an untrained person, then you could perhaps forgive it as a lapse, but a trained person is expected to have a certain measure of responsibility when handling a firearm.
But she did say also that, Oscar Pistorius, she does accept that Oscar Pistorius wanted Reeva to live. Of course, referring to the testimonies of some of the first people who had arrived at Oscar Pistorius' home, saying that Oscar Pistorius, was screaming Reeva, his reaction, his emotion at the time.
Of course, and that would be acceptable reaction. I mean, this man realized what he had done and he wanted her to live. I think it would be a pretty normal reaction. And we did hear that in the testimony from Dr. Stipp specifically and from the Stander family who were first on scene.
If we look at, the culpable homicide sentence of 5 years, and we look at the 3 suspended for 5 years on the gun-related charge, how much time is Oscar Pistorius likely to spend in jail?
Well, given the fact that it's a violent crime, I think he would be probably expected to serve a minimum of half that sentence, whereafter it could be converted by correctional supervision to correctional supervision by corrections. But of course, these are speculations, and we'll just have to see down the line what the Department of Corrections decides to do.
And certainly on your part, Laurie, I mean, the the justice system in South Africa had really been under the spotlight. You operate within that framework. Let me get your personal opinion on this. I mean, South Africa's justice system in the spotlight. What do you gauge from this case? I mean, it's been beamed around the world. Certainly must have also been difficult on your part to get all this right.
Well, of course, it's always difficult to see your colleagues criticized. However, it must be said that the South African justice system certainly has its challenges. However, we are making strides to try and improve this and to put measures in place to deal with these challenges. So, yes, one has to, looking forward, hopefully many lessons will have been taken from this trial. So I'm just hoping that it benefits the system in general. It's also not a bad thing to have the problems ventilated, because that places officials in a position where you can deal with them.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. We'll speak to you certainly a bit later. Laurie James there assisting us throughout this 18-month trial, unpacking the testimonies that have been inside court and finally reaching today where Oscar Pistorius, of course, has received 5 years for culpable homicide and 3 years suspended for 5 years on the gun-related charge. Much more reaction we're expecting here outside the North Gauteng High Court. It will be interesting to see if the Steenkamps will react at all at this stage. What SABC News does understand is that some sort of agreement has been signed between the Steenkamps and one of the international broadcasters, and that they will not be saying much, at least until a month after the sentencing here today. We're not sure as well at this stage whether the Pistoriuses will be issuing a statement as well, or you will get Arnold Pistorius as well reading out a statement here. We did see some of their communications team leaving with the Pistorius family here a little bit. We're also waiting for the ANC Women's League as well. If I could ask our camera person Max just to zoom in on that area. You can also see, Elvis, here some of the ambulances that arrived early this morning. In any event that some of the members of the public or even members of the family had taken the news quite bad. So what's expecting to happen at this stage, the media waiting there for a lot of the family to emerge from the court. From some of the visuals that I'm actually seeing inside court on one of our other monitors as well, it certainly seems that someone is speaking there inside. I really cannot see from where I am at this stage as to who is commenting on this matter. But in case you missed it there at home, Oscar Pistorius, the sentence 5 years for culpable homicide and 3 years suspended for 5 years relating to that gun charge that he was found guilty of, relating to the Tasha's incident at the upmarket restaurant where a firearm was discharged while there were several patrons dining there at the time. We know that the ANC Women's League is making their way outside the court at the moment. Actually, on one of our monitors at the moment, I see that the ANC Women's League spokesperson, Jackie Mufokeng, of course the spokesperson here for the Gauteng region, she is speaking to the media inside. Certainly we'll bring you that clip. She promised that she will be speaking to the SABC straight after she comes through from court. We really hope to bring you all of that.
And to go for an appeal. The ANC Women's League will come as friends of the court, as we have said it, and the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa. Remember, we are not the only ones. There are women and organizations behind us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was the ANC Women's League's Jackie Mufokeng speaking to the media contingent there. As you can see, a hive of activity at the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. Criselda, it seems like everybody wants to get that particular story. But at this point in time, Oscar Pistorius got 5-year jail sentence as well as a suspended term for his firearm or the contravention of the Firearms Control Act. Do we know at this point in time at which correctional services will he be housed?
Mr. Pistorius, your son will be spending about 5 years in jail. How do you feel about that?
Well, certainly highly likely at this stage is the Kgosimampuru prison here in Pretoria. We saw as well, the acting National Commissioner of Correctional Services speak to the aspect that, facilities in South Africa are well housed or have the facilities to house anyone, whether they're abled or disabled. That Oscar Pistorius is not unique in this case. There are many others who are serving prison terms in South African jails. We also saw Judge Thokozile Masipa certainly stating that, and when she said that she really took Zach Mudise's evidence as truth, in that significant strides have been made, as we have been saying, and that yes, it is not perfect, but certainly correctional services will be able to. Let me just turn a bit that way. I'm not sure if you can see those visuals on your screen right now, Elvis. June Steenkamp maneuvering through the hundreds of meter together with Barry Steenkamp. Also, we see our colleague there, Patricia Fasachi, trying to get a soundbite from Barry Steenkamp. Well, he's certainly speaking to the SABC. We'll hear a bit later what he has to say. But certainly, Elvis, it certainly looks like it will be Kgosi Mampuru. We understand that it has the facilities to house people with disabilities like Oscar Pistorius. But of course, in the next few minutes, we'll be getting all that information, bringing you up to speed about all the latest developments. Let me just ask our camera person again to pan towards that. I understand that the Steenkamps are just about leaving the court now. I'm not sure if you can actually see that shot at the moment, Elvis. Also, a lot of media, they're standing on ladders trying to get the best shot. Quite a lot of a scrum there, and certainly, yes, that is the Steenkamps. They are leaving court. Whether they're satisfied at this stage, Elvis, with the 5 years for culpable homicide and the 3 years suspended for 5 years that Oscar Pistorius has received, of course, remains to be seen. We're yet to speak to them whether she will be able to receive a sentence, or rather they will be able to be pleased with what Judge Thokozile Masipa has found. Certainly remains to be seen. I'm going to be joined very shortly, Elvis, if you could really just bear with me with the spokesperson for the ANC Women's League here in Gauteng. She's walking towards this very high structure that the SABC has set up here in order to do this interview. There's quite a media scrum there. We're really trying to see who is coming through from inside the court at this stage, but I believe it is the Steenkamps. Yes, it is. If we could ask our camera person as well again to stick on that shot at the moment. As you can see, the media, there you have it, June Steenkamp as well as Barry Steenkamp leaving the court there. Not much emotion that I can see, of course, from this side. And, there you have it, journalists, everybody trying to get a bit of an update there from what Barry Steenkamp might be feeling at this stage. I'm really going to bring in at this point, if you could come through, Mum Jackie, thank you very much for your time. Apologies there, live television all the time. Everything just happens at the spur of the moment. Mum Jackie, thank you very much for your time. We're on air, live on air at this point on SABC News. Mum Jackie, let's get your reaction first of all to the sentence by Judge Thokozile Masipa.
We are saddened by the sentence, noting that we've been said anyway with the verdict. Ours today is to calm down, call for the national prosecution for an appeal. The ANC Women's League and the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa will look forward to be friends of the court.
What's the reaction that you got from the Steenkamps? I see that you're actually looking like you want to get emotional, Mum Jackie, here. You've been standing with the Steenkamps since the beginning of this trial. And, what did they say to you just a few minutes ago? You were sitting there. Any word from them at all at this stage?
I think the first thing that, for the few that I spoke to, they were saying that we are happy that the house arrest that was called for didn't happen. He will go to serve. But they are also mindful of what we said, as we discussed with them as the Women's League, that should it not come the way we are looking at, noting that the verdict was not what we wanted, we'll go on an appeal. We're requesting the national prosecution going for that, and we are appealing that they listen to us, women of this country. There are laws in this country, and we must respect each other.
What messages the Women's League do you think today's sentence has sent to ordinary South Africans?
They are sad because, women are killed, children are raped, children are killed, men and women, all of them are suffering the same thing. When a child is killed or a woman is killed, it's mothers all the time that will be actually facing the might and everything, all the challenges that are there. And hence you'll see women being worried that should we allow things like this? Some people will play on people with disabilities, make them to do wrong things, and say that if they can save so much, we can do the same.
All right. Just as the Women's League as well, do you think there's a need to intensify at this stage, programs that speak to the abuse of women and children in this country? Certainly that has been placed back in the spotlight again. As the ANC Women's League, what more do you think? Clearly the message is not getting out there. These things continue to happen, and in this case, Judge Thokozile Masipa saying that Oscar Pistorius was negligent. He fired 4 shots knowing that there was someone behind the door. It wasn't just one shot that could have been a warning. He knew that irrespective of who it was behind that door. What more in terms of programs?
We've got laws in this country, but most of the time we are failed by the implementation. And women are doing much, and in most cases you find at the end is when things comes to be in court that we realize that there are challenges. You are correct. Programs of educating women, educating communities, that when we have cases like this, we need to look at the witness protection, where people are debriefed, where people are prepared, and those facilities on the social development, on also the community safety, and even in the South African police services, we tend not to be using more of them. But this case, for being in public, it helped us to understand and to make people understand what law is all about. We can lament, we can do whatever. The judgment was given by one judge, and she said so. And because we respect the rule of law, we must look at the other alternatives that allow South Africans to go for. Hence we are saying, please, national prosecution, go for an appeal.
Will you register as friends of the court in that appeal?
The ANC Women's League, we come again to say we'll register as friends of the court together with other organizations, and also the progressive women's movement that has been behind making sure that the Steenkamp family is also in Pretoria.
Jackie Mofokeng, thank you very much for your time over the past 18 months. Thank you very much for your insight there. The ANC Women's League saying it is not impressed at all with the sentence that has been meted out against Oscar Pistorius. A lot more reaction expected to come your way. Elvis, back to the studio for now.
Thank you so much, Griselda Lewis from the North Gauteng High Court. As you just heard, the sentence there on Oscar Pistorius, sent to jail for about 5 years. And of course, in terms of the contravention of the Firearms Control Act, he'll serve 3 years, suspended for 5 years. Now, the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria has sentenced the Paralympian Oscar Pistorius to 5 years imprisonment for the murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp.